Part 3 of Reality is a Shared Hallucination by Howard Bloom. The brain, which underlies the mind, is jigsawed like a puzzle piece to fit the space it's given by its loved ones and by the larger framework of its culture's patterning. When barely out of the womb, babies are already riveted on a major source of social cues. Newborns to 4-month-olds would rather look at faces than at almost anything else. Rensselaer Polytechnic's Linda Corporeal points out what she calls micro-coordination, in which a baby imitates its mother's facial expression, and the mother in turn imitates the baby's. The duet of smiles and funny faces indulged in by Western mothers, or scowls and angry looks favored by such peoples as New Guinea's Mundagamore, accomplishes far more than at first it seems. Psychologist Paul Ekman has demonstrated that the faces we make recast our moods, reset our nervous systems, and fill us with the feelings the facial expressions indicate. So the baby imitating its mother's face is learning how to glower or glow with emotions, which is what glower means, glow with emotions, stressed by its society. And emotions, as we've already seen, help craft our vision of reality. There are other signs that babies synchronize their feelings to the folks around them at a very early age. Emotional contagion and empathy, two of the ties which bind us, come to us when we are still in diapers. Children less than a year old who see another child hurt show all the signs of undergoing the same pain. The University of Zurich's D. Bischoff Kohler concludes from one of his studies that when babies between 1 and 2 years old see another infant hurt, they don't just ape the emotions of distress, but share it empathetically. More important, both animal and human children cram their powers of perception into a conformist mold, chaining their attention to what others see. A 4-month-old human will swivel to look at an object his parent is staring at. A baby chimp will do the same. By their first birthday, infants have extended this perceptual linkage to their peers. When they notice that another child's eyes have fixated on an object, they swivel around to focus on that thing themselves. If they don't see what's so interesting, they look back to check the direction of the other child's gaze and make sure they've got it right. 1-year-olds show other ways in which their perception is a slave to social commands. Put a cup and a strange gewgaw in front of them, and their natural tendency will be to check out the novelty. But repeat the word cup, and the infant will dutifully rivet its gaze on the old familiar drinking vessel. Children go along with the herd, even in their taste in food. When researchers put 2 to 5-year-olds at a table for several days with other kids who loved the edibles they loathed, the children with the dislike did a 180-degree turn and became zestful eaters of the dish they'd formerly disdained. The preference was still going strong 2 weeks after the peer pressure had stopped. At 6, children are obsessed with being accepted by the group and become hypersensitive to violations of group norms. This tyranny of belonging pushes perceptions which fail to coincide with those of the majority. Even rhythm draws individual perceptions together in the subtlest of ways. Psychiatrist William Condon of Boston University's medical school analyzed films of adults chatting and noticed a peculiar process at work. Unconsciously, the conversationalists began to coordinate their finger movements, eye blinks, and nods. When pairs of talkers were hooked up to separate electroencephalographs, something even more astonishing appeared. Some of their brain waves were spiking in unison. Newborn babies already show this synchrony. In fact, an American infant, still fresh from the womb, will just as happily match its body movements to the speech of someone speaking Chinese as to someone speaking English. As time proceeds, these unnoticed synchronies draw larger and larger groups together. A graduate student working under the direction of anthropologist Edward T. Hall hid in an abandoned car and filmed children romping in a school playground at lunch hour. What? Screaming, laughing, running, and jumping. Each seemed superficially to be doing his or her own thing. But careful analysis revealed that the group was rocking to a unified beat. One little girl, far more active than the rest, covered the entire schoolyard in her play. Hall and his student realized that without knowing it. She was the director and the orchestrator. Eventually, the researchers found a tune that fit the silent cadence. When they played it and rolled the film, it looked exactly as if each kid were dancing to the melody. But there had been no music playing in the schoolyard, said Hall. Without knowing it, they were all moving to a beat they generated themselves. An unconscious undercurrent of synchronized movement tied the group together. William Condon concluded that it doesn't make sense to view humans as isolated entities. They are, he said, bonded together by their involvement in shared organizational forms. In other words, without knowing it, individuals form a team. Even in our most casual moments, we pulse in synchrony. No wonder input from the herd so strongly colors the ways in which we see our world. Excuse me. Students at MIT were given a bio of a guest lecturer. One group's background sheet described the speaker as cold. The other group's handout praised him for his warmth. Both groups sat together as they watched the lecturer give his presentation. But those who read the bio saying he was cold saw him as distant and aloof. Those who'd been tipped off that he was warm rated him as friendly and approachable. In judging a fellow human being, students replaced external fact with input they'd been given socially. In judging a fellow human being, students replaced external fact with input they'd been given socially.